Colts off today, but tomorrow night they get it going under the lights. We had a chance today to talk to the coordinators. Gus Bradley first, the defensive coordinator. He's got a lot of good things to say about this defense. There's a lot of optimism about the Colts and their defense. As you would guess, 2 practices into training camp. It's a long way to September 11th, but Gus Bradley likes what he sees.
I think the biggest thing that jumps out is our recall. It's been very good, especially the first day, getting them lined up and going through some things. Obviously, the fundamental parts and the techniques, things like that, we need to just constantly stress and work on. But as far as getting lined up and the communication, ahead of really where we thought we'd be at this point. So a good start, but the old cliche, a lot of work to do.
One thing that's jumped out so far is just how fast and intense Yannick Ngakoue is practicing, even individual drills. You've been around him for a while. Has he always been that way?
Yeah, he's wired that way. I think even in walkthroughs, we got to kind of tone it down some with him. But yeah, he's just really into it. He's perfectionist in everything he does and wants to really play at one speed, and practice that tempo as much as possible. So yeah, he's got a good feel for what we're asking and the tempo we want to play at.
You know Yannick probably as well as anybody does. You know probably DeForest from his years. What do you know about Quiddy?
You know what? I'm learning more and more about Quiddy. I mean, obviously the type of man he is. He's a very prideful man. Really wants to do well. He's not a boisterous or loud. He's just more of a get to work, tell me what you're asking for me, but very professional. And you can tell when the time we get on the field in the meetings, just really focused, man.
He told us he got glasses because he had.
Yeah.
Did you know that beforehand?
No, I did not know that. So, but I don't know how much of a big deal it is or not. But it sounds like he got it addressed and feels pretty good about it.
With Gilmore, obviously when a guy's had some injuries, you're watching closely when you're evaluating him before you sign him. What was it when you watched the tape? What was it that told you, man, we got something here?
Okay,
so one thing that stuck out?
Yeah. So first of all, in our system, tall, long corners, especially on the perimeter, are really advantageous for us in our system. It doesn't mean that they have to be that, but it's one of the traits we look at. So here's a guy that's tall, long, can play press, feels good about being isolated at times. So all those characteristics, his demeanor, very flatline, nothing really gets him shook. He's seen a lot of things. And then in the zone coverage, he's got really, really good instincts and ball skills. Really good at that. So I think now it's just, getting a feel for what we're actually having to do in those situations. So his length, his size, his savviness, obviously his experience.
And he's played, when you play with Belichick, he attacks in so many different ways. That sort of Rolodex of experience that he has, how much do you think that helps him?
No, it does. The banked experiences are so big in this game, and he has a lot of banked experiences. So it's just good to have general conversations with him.
Yeah.
Given how much you like length, does that give Brandon Faison a leg up in that battle for the corner spot opposite Gilmore when Kenny's in the slot?
No, we really like Kenny. That's what I said. If you said, put it on a piece of paper, but Kenny is so talented. And, he has such a great feel for the game. And you'll see the way we do some things with corners, and we try to utilize their skill set. So you'll see those guys move around quite a bit, not necessarily right and left at times.
Kind of like Brandon versus Isaiah Rodgers a little more.
Oh, well, Isaiah, anytime you got speed like that, and Isaiah's long.
Yeah.
He's got some length to him, so tremendous speed, very good ball skills, and really good short area quickness. That transition, what we ask him to do, because so many times these guys are on islands.
Brandon is a guy you've been with for 3 teams now. He came to the league as an undrafted guy. Do you remember what initially drew you to him, or when he maybe first caught your eye?
Well, again, some of those traits that we just talked about. But he is really, taking his game to another level every year. And we were, apart for a short time last year, and then he came back, and he quickly picked up on it. And I just think that this, the number of years he's been in the league now, you just see more of a poised player. Where he kind of understands what's asked. He goes out there in execution, and I think the big part of his game is consistently we know what we're going to get from him.
Is Nick Cross playing like a rookie to you? a couple of workouts
Well,
in?
the second play he didn't.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I think what showed up in practice is what we did see, in his college tape. Some of the things that he did really well there. That position he's playing, we're asking a lot of that. So there's going to be a lot on his plate, a lot of different techniques, and he's pretty cerebral too. He seems to be picking it up. He just needs a lot of reps. But I think physically, he has a lot of the characteristics we're looking for.
It's only been 2 days, so it's a small sample size, but we've seen a couple of plays with Julian playing in the middle of the field and then making a break on a ball. How big is that for your defense?
Well,
it's healthy and playing.
Yeah, we talk about red line to red line, a guy that can cover the field in those traits. You got to have the speed that can cover the whole width of the field to give those corners some help, and then he's also got to be a physical tackler. When you're playing a lot of the system we do where it's single high, if a run breaks through there, that guy's got to be a sure tackler. So learning the different angles and things like that is part of the game too. But yeah, I think that part has really jumped out about his range.
Also a short sample size, but a lot of single high safeties. I'm sure you mix things up, but why do you like that? With safety?
Right. I think without getting into too much detail of it I think that the system allows for young players to come in and play. That was, when we put it in initially, that was a big part of it. When you look back at the Seattle days with Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman, those guys came in at a young age and had to play right away. So it was a system that, although it can be complicated with all the techniques we're asking, it does allow a player to come in right away and play early. And when you got a lot of young guys playing, you got a chance to be pretty fast on the field.
With Nick Cross playing closer to the line of scrimmage where it's not so complicated?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say, actually his position is pretty complicated, some of the things that we ask. But we'll utilize his skill set along with all the strong safety. That's why Rodney's been good for us too, because he played free and strong, and to have that versatility, I think will benefit us.
The league is moving to more too high safety looks, it feels like, in recent years, the more that the teams are passing. How much do you look around at sort of the trends of the league and what other teams are doing? Or
sure, I think you always, off season, you study things, and you always, from what we did in Seattle to where we are now, I think our systems evolved. A lot of those, if we went back and looked, you wouldn't recognize some of the things, what we do. We've always tried to stay a year or two ahead of the game, anticipate what's coming, to keep it, efficient in what we're doing. So, but yeah, we always, take a look at some things, and we've incorporated things throughout the year, the years in the past too.
That's Gus Bradley, one of the most congenial defensive coordinators in football. And it's going to be different this year for the Indianapolis Colts with Bradley as a coordinator. His defense is all about pressure, baby. And if they don't get pressure, they're going to give up points. They're going to get pressure.